Ray Ford here from Euclid Public Library. I'm here to recommend a few graphic novels and comic books to you. To be specific, it'll be a series. It won't necessarily be 4 individual stories. It'll be a series of comic graphic novels that's just one continuous story. And it's really near and dear to my heart. I can't wait to share it with you. But before I get to that, I'd just like to say that here at Euclid Public Library, there is a wealth of graphic novel and comic book knowledge. To start, Mr. Mike Stein, who had a post, maybe a video 2 or 3 days ago, and it was all about comic books. What he did was he used Hoopla, and he showed us the vast collection of graphic novels and comic books in Hoopla. He walked us through how to download them, showed us how to read them, how you can just scroll through, how easy it is to scroll through them, and then he shared with us some of the books that he has on deck to read for himself. Batman Under the Hood, Legend of Zelda, Immortal Hulk, and then it did actually told us that he was an Avengers fan, which so am I. We have that in common. So he has a wealth of graphic novel and comic book knowledge. So if you're ever in the library and you have any questions, please find Mr. Mike Stein. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. Also, Miss Christine Piles, who also had a post and a video called Graphic Novel Friday. What she did was she gave us another handful of great books. Miles Morales, Straight Outta Brooklyn, Life is Strange, Dust, They Call Us Enemy by George Takei, Green Lantern Legacy, and Ronin Island. All great books. If you have any questions about graphic novels and comic books, please, when you get back into the library, or you can chat with us through our website. If you have any questions for her, Mr. Mike Stein, please don't hesitate to reach out. You'd love to speak to him. There's 2 more that I'd like to recommend before I move into my recommendation. Mr. Randy Brown, who is our computer associate, he also has a wealth of knowledge in graphic novels and comic books. So please, if you're ever in the library when we open back up, once you get a chance to get back in and we can start our conversations again, please don't hesitate to speak to him. You'd have a wonderful time speaking graphic novels and comic books to him. Last but definitely not least, Mr. Sean Swift. I absolutely love talking graphic novels and comic books with Mr. Sean Swift, especially Transformers and Star Wars. He's the one that tells me if something is good or not. I'm pretty easy about stuff, but he's the one that tells me if something was good. If a movie was good, if a book was good, if I should read it, if I shouldn't read it, don't waste your time. He's that guy. So when we get back into the library, please, if you happen to see him at the circulation desk, please ask him, talk to him. Your mind will be blown. Same goes for Mr. Mike Stein and Miss Christine Piles and Mr. Randy Brown. So I hope you all don't mind that I did that, but you deserve it. All right, so for me, I am going to recommend a 4-volume set called Hip Hop Family Tree by Mr. Ed Piskor. Why am I recommending this? It speaks directly to me as a child. It's all about hip hop culture. So when I was young, the first thing that I remember when it comes to hip hop culture was these guys. They would have 2 turntables, and the same record would be on each turntable, and then they would only play a small piece of each record, but they would play it back to back so that it never stopped. It was a continuous loop, which I thought was amazing. So I'm like, whoa, I want to learn how to do that. It kind of gave me, and a lot of people like me who witnessed all of this, it was like, oh wait, I want to learn how to do that. So then as they were playing these small pieces of each record, there would be these young men and women, they would go to the dance floor, or they would be in the park in the open spaces, and then they would go down to the ground and they would start spinning around on their backs, and they would start doing all these complicated and intricate moves with their legs and their arms. They were called breakers, which we would popularly, it would become known as break dancers, but b-boys and breakers. I want to try that too. That's what I would say. That's what my brother would say. So then I learned about graffiti writers. That's cool. I was actually introduced to this series by one of the librarians here at the library. So I can't really take credit for discovering it on my own, like the discovery of it for myself. It wasn't me, it was actually given to me and recommended to me by Miss Dawn. Once she decided to add it to the collection, she literally put it on my desk. And she knew that I love graphic novels and comic books. And she also knew that I love hip hop culture. So here was the best of both worlds, because the two were married in one place. Graphic novels, the history of hip hop culture in one place. It doesn't get much better than that for me. So I tore through them, got the first book, and it laid the foundation of the culture before it was actually known as hip hop culture. So in this book, we meet a man named DJ Kool Herc. And whenever you hear his name, there's an address attached to it. And that address is 1520 Cedric Avenue, Bronx, New York. And why is that address attached to his name? Because that's where the first party that's considered to start hip hop culture happened, in the rec room of that apartment building. And he's considered the godfather of hip hop culture. But then the book moves forward, and we get to meet Africa Bambaataa. And then we get to meet Grandmaster Flash. And then we get to meet DJ Breakout. You know, these founding fathers of this culture that would soon become known as hip hop. So then, as we're meeting them, you know, life is happening. And in between, you know, our meeting and learning the different characteristics of each DJ, we get to meet b-boys or breakdancers. We get to meet graffiti artists. We get to meet some of the first MCs or rappers of the culture in this book one. And so it's easy to say that I got lost in this first volume, which is true. But then when I got to the second volume, I got lost even more, because then in this book, book two, it spans from 1981 to 1983. And this is the stage in the culture's evolution, that it goes from these rec room parties where DJ Kool Herc, Africa Bambaataa, Grandmaster Flash, DJ Breakout, it goes downtown. You know, the culture sort of spawns wheels and moves out of the rec room and out of the parks and into downtown, and ironically onto record, because up to this point there had been no records made. So the broader part of the nation, we didn't really know what was going on. So this book sort of chronicles all of that, book two. And so we get to learn about the Sugar Hill Gang and how Sylvia Robinson sort of, you know, put this group together called the Sugar Hill Gang to record, you know, this iconic song called Rapper's Delight. And then we move on to book three. And in book three, we meet Run DMC. Now, in book two, I have to go back. In book two, we actually met Russell Simmons and Rick Rubin, and their relationship and how it formed, and how they would end up starting what would become known as Def Jam Records. But Run DMC in 1983 and 84, mind blowing. So we meet Run DMC. That opens up the lanes for us to meet this group called Houdini, the Fat Boys, Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick. So the culture is growing, it's evolving, and it's beginning to make money. That's the key. 1983, 1984. This is when King of Rock hit the airwaves, and all the other songs, Rock Box from Run DMC, and they sort of take over. And then we also get to see in this book how hip hop culture begins to merge with pop culture and begins to kind of take it over. And that's when, you know, styles of dress, ways of talking, you know, ways of walking, all of these different elements, these sub elements of the culture begin to take shape on TV and on record and on the album covers. But then we move to book four. And book four is when the doors just get blown off of the culture. Because this is when hip hop culture goes Hollywood. And when I say Hollywood, I mean this is when the movies started to be made. Breaking One, Crush Groove. If you're old enough to remember these movies, shame on you, but I'm in the same boat as you. But this is a good lesson for young folks to learn. It's a good lesson for your older folks like myself to revisit, you know, because this is a great time when people were sort of have created something from nothing. I mean, rap music and the art of rapping did not exist before the 1970s. It was just created literally out of thin air, at least the way we know it. But back to book 4. So in book 4, not only does it go to Hollywood, we also in this book get our first glimpses of some more popular names that some of the younger folks now would recognize. Will Smith, for example, who didn't go by Will Smith back then. His name was the Fresh Prince. And then his DJ, Jazzy Jeff. So DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, we get introduced to them in book 4. We get introduced to Salt and Pepper in book 4. We get introduced to a man named Biz Markie in book 4. And a host of others, artists and graffiti artists and DJs, and just how the culture began to take shape in pop culture. That's book 4. It starts in book 3, but then once we get to book 4, we're all the way into pop culture at this point, and it looks nothing like this grassroots culture that we sort of got introduced to in book 1. You know, so it's a chronicle. This series is a chronicle, and you almost have to read all 4 of them to get the gist of how this culture sort of evolved and made its way in terms of appearance to how it looks now. How young folks and their shoes. I'm a huge sneakerhead myself. So when I see young people walking around and they want their sneakers to be clean, they want their sneakers to be nice and neat, I get it. You know, it's part of the culture. They may not know it, but hopefully watching a video like this will help them understand. So my recommendation, graphic novel wise, is Hip Hop Family Tree, volumes 1 through 4. Trust me, you'll enjoy them. You won't be disappointed. So please check them out. And don't forget to check out Mr. Mike Stein's video. Don't forget to check out Miss Christine Powell's video. There's some awesome recommendations there. So please, we'll see you later.